Hi, this is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and today I'm going to be presenting a game from the quarterfinals of the Candidates Tournament, which is taking place May 5th through 23rd, I believe, in Kazan, Russia. And the winner of this tournament will go on to challenge Viswanathan Anand for the World Championship in 2012. So this is Game 2 of the quarterfinals match between Veselin Topalov of Bulgaria and Gata Kamsky of the United States. And so Topalov, Game 1 was drawn as Kamsky was white, so Topalov here, he's a very aggressive player, and the stakes are extremely high in these quarterfinals matches. It is four games in regulation time, which is 120 minutes, and after that it's going to go to a tiebreaker, I believe a couple games in the 25-minute 10-second increment, I believe a 4-game set, and then after that it's going to be 5-minute and 3-second increment. So the stakes are extremely high as the regulation time is only 4 games, and a win can be absolutely devastating at this level in the game. An early win especially, because then you just need to draw the rest of your games to advance. So here, knight f3, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, and pretty much what's going on here, Kamsky plays d5, and he's essentially taking the game into a Grunfeld, is what this really signifies. And so I haven't seen him play the Grunfeld a ton in the past, but I've seen him kind of mixing up his opening preparation a little bit, and that's good because he's not known as a top theoretician, you could say. So, it definitely exceptional technique, deep strategy, very logical player, but his weakness that I've seen, especially at the Super GM level, his openings just don't have a lot of bang for the buck, you could say. So anyway, going into the Grunfeld here, Topalov plays kind of a strange move. Well, not too strange. Queen b3 is trying to put some immediate pressure on Kamsky's position. And so Kamsky retreats. Other moves in this position, there's a good number of other moves. d4, e4 is possible, even h3, to name a few. So anyway, going on, Queen b3, trying to put some immediate pressure on that knight on d5. And so, obviously if knight takes c3 here, well, maybe white just wants to mess up black's pawns a little bit and hit that rook on h8. So he plays knight b6 instead, and preferring to put a little bit of pressure on white's exposed queen on the b3 square. So d4 by white, it's a very logical play, just trying to take control of the center. And the Grunfeld represents the hyper-modernist school of thought in that it's trying to say, okay, white, you can have the center, but it's saying, the center is going to be overextended and more of a weakness than a strength. So that's what the point of black's, that's what black's opening is trying to prove by letting white have all these pieces controlling squares in the center. So bishop f4, logical developing move, and now bishop e6, another logical developing move, simply trying to put some pressure, maybe control that c4 square. So queen a3, and this is kind of a strange move. I've seen similar ideas, and maybe this is book, I'm sure it is, this, move 8, but it's definitely pretty strange, as the queen is, it just, black is going to have the knight coming to c6, the knight on b6, and both of the bishops are going to be pointing towards the queen side. And so his queen is going to feel a little isolated, I think, on the a3 square. And just a point, I believe after knight c4, Topalov was either planning... I believe he was planning queen b4, trying to put a little pressure on the b7 square, something along those lines. And so knight c6, and he castles queenside. And here Kamsky had used about 20 minutes. Topalov had used about 2 minutes. So Topalov, this is definitely home prep for him. And Kamsky, maybe not quite so much. So what's going on? Castles queenside. I mean, this is nuts. So Topalov is just trying to destroy Kamsky immediately. And Kamsky is just playing logical moves. So here he took about 10 minutes and came up with knight d5. And the point of knight d5, well, first, let's just say knight takes d5. Well, then queen takes d5. And it's going to be tough for white to play e4 and gain more space in the center. Also, bishop f5 is going to be very easy for black to start putting some more pressure on white's king. So white doesn't want to do that, and now he's going to have to move this bishop off of f4. And so he plays bishop g3 and bishop h3. So Kamsky took another 10 minutes on this move. Topalov still 2 minutes on the first 10 moves. So this has got to be preparation. So he's, the point of bishop h6, it forces e3, because if white plays king b1, well, he's just going to get steamrolled, because black can simply play knight cb4, and all of a sudden these squares coming, there's a lot of black pieces coming after the white king. Maybe you want to throw in bishop f5 check. I think is a little more accurate. If knight b4, maybe e4 straight away. So I think bishop f5, e4 is going to fail to knight takes c3, and then bishop takes e4. And so let's say bishop f5, king a1, and then knight b4, and black is going to win at least an exchange in this position. So essentially forcing e3. Well, now black has got his pieces solid in the center. He's got a little bit of pressure on the white king, certainly not feeling too comfortable. And in exchange, white, I think, has failed in the opening, because he's not going to be able to get space in the center. If he could play e4, he'd be doing great, but that's easier said than done. So Kamsky with a5, and now Topalov thought for about 13 minutes. I guess here he realized this is not exactly the position they had studied in preparation. And so a5 is a very logical move. Kamsky just wants to establish an outpost for the knight on b4, where it's going to be controlling a lot of critical squares around white's king. In consequence, I guess, in turn, white has a little bit of counterplay now on the h-file, so that's what he's managed to achieve. Meanwhile, c6, Kamsky continues playing very solidly, very logically, very characteristic of his play. Just solid, logical play. Achieve a superior position and grind your opponent into the ground. Nothing flashy with Kamsky, usually not, until he's achieved a great, a very solid position to attack from. So now f6 here, and I believe f6 has a few points. First, white has got a little pressure on the h-file. Black doesn't want to play bishop g7 and allow a trade, so it prepares to play king f7. Let's just say bishop e2. It prepares, bishop e2, or in the game it was knight e4, and it prepares king f7, which is going to do a couple of things. It's going to, first off, black can defend that rook on h8, or the rook can even swing over to the queen side to help the attack out. f6 also protects the e5 and the g5 squares from potential invasions by white. And if necessary, maybe black can also retreat this bishop if he needs to. And so b6 now, just guarding, black is guarding all of these squares, the c5, the e5, and the g5 squares. So he's just kind of shoring up his position, because he realizes that any pawn moves that white makes are essentially going to weaken his position way too much. Not that he even can make any pawn moves in this position. So Kamsky just extremely patient and is kind of saying, okay, prove it to me. You've got this queen on a3, your king is exposed. What's your compensation? So definitely not making it easy for Topalov to find objects to attack. And now queen c8, a nice move, just simply putting some pressure, the X-ray pressure, on the white king on the c-file, as well as maybe protecting this bishop on e6 against any kind of tactical ideas. Maybe bishop f5 coming up, things like that. And now here, rook h4 by Topalov, and this move's got a couple of points, because let's say the rook stayed on h1. Well, white doesn't really have many productive moves here. He doesn't have many pieces. His queen is jammed in the corner. If the king goes to b1, well, then bishop f5 is going to be a killer. And so the rook on h1 is simply a loose piece. And if king f7, then black is going to be threatening bishop takes e3 for real. And so, rook h4 just kind of, okay, I can't figure anything else better, so going to protect the rook and also protect the knight on e4. So just protecting those looser pieces. And now king f7 by Kamsky. And now, like I was saying before, if the rook was on h1, bishop takes h3, or e3 rather, would simply win the game. It would win a pawn and an exchange, something along those lines, because of the check on d2. So instead, Topalov plays rook to d1 now. So, he's obviously a little confused. He moved the rook up 2 or 3 moves ago, and now he's moving it back down. So definitely a good sign for Kamsky. And now Kamsky he embarks on a decisive combination, which seems to lead to either the forced win material or definitely just seizes the initiative and never looks back. So now g5. First saw this, I was kind of like, okay, what's going on? But it makes sense. So now the idea is g4, and what can white do? He's just going to get cleaned off the board. So he plays knight to d2, and both players now around Kamsky 35 minutes or so, Topalov 44 minutes. So not too low on time, but it's definitely something to consider. And now c5 first. So c5. So now they're gonna, Kamsky's gonna open up the c file, and he's gonna have the bishops. It's a strange game, but some kind of weird coordination with black's pieces, and white was unable to achieve this coordination. So now the point of playing g5 and then g4 was to force this knight back to d2, and now Kamsky can play f5. And where does the knight go? Well, the knight it can't go back to c3 because of simply takes. Knight takes c3, and a2 pawn is too weak. So now, knight takes a2, and let's say something like this. White is toast in this position. I mean, he's not coming back from this one. This is all over. It's just too much coordination for the black pieces. So f5. So Topalov, attacking player, you don't want to defend passively. So he's going out like a fighter. So he plays rook takes h6, and now knight g5 check. And so the knight got out of there. King f8, and the black king is somewhat exposed, but all of white's pieces are just too far away to do anything about it. So knight takes, and now queen takes. Bishop c4, so Topalov is hanging on for dear life. Rook c8, bringing his last reserve in to put some pressure on white's position. And now bishop f4, rook f6, bishop f4 is just kind of, okay, where's the rook going to go? And now e4. So I think this was really the point of bishop f4, actually. It seemed, when I first saw it, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, just asking a question. Can't think of a better move. But really, I think Topalov's idea here was if f takes e4, then bishop e3. And so, weirdly, he's kind of holding the position together. In some kind of strange way, it's difficult for black to break in. These pawns are a mess. It's just weird. It's a weird position. So after e4, Kamsky did not play f takes e4, and he sacrificed a piece. So Topalov is a fighter. I mean, this guy is he's very slippery. So rook takes c5, and this leads to a forced win, to my understanding. Pawn takes, and now queen takes d5. So very strong piece sacrifice. It's actually not down material. This is actually completely even on material-wise. White has 2 bishops. Black has a rook and a pawn, so 6 points each. But the white queen is out of play, and there's not a good way to bring it back. So after b3, now queen b4, and there's no way for white to stop the invasion. Queen b2 is not going to work. Knight to d3 is just going to be crushing. And so after queen to d4, white played bishop e3. I guess he just kind of resigned here. And now queen c3 check, and Topalov resigned. So quite a nicely played game by Kamsky. He encountered, I think it was an opening novelty with this queen a3 move on move 8. So just a fantastic game played by Kamsky, taking the lead in his match, which he went on to win against Topalov, and proceeding to the semifinals. So in this final position, if king b1, simply queen c2, he's going to win the rook. So a great game by Kamsky, and good luck to him in the semifinals. Certainly be interesting to see how he does against Boris Gelfand. This is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and thanks for tuning in.